Welcome to the Deep Dive, the place where we take complex frameworks and distill them into the most powerful, actionable knowledge just for you. Today, we are undertaking a deep dive into one of the most, I'd say, impactful self-improvement systems of the last decade, the mechanics behind atomic habits.
Right. And when we say atomic, we're not just talking small.
No, exactly. It's about that single irreducible unit, the fundamental piece of a larger system.
Precisely. And our mission today is really to get under the hood.
Yeah.
To understand how focusing on these tiny behavioral units can create this incredible leverage.
Leading to massive, maybe even unexpected transformations in your life.
Yeah, we want to move beyond just the philosophy. Small changes matter. Everyone sort of gets that part. We need to get into the practical, the scientific framework. To really use this stuff, you need to understand the 4 stages of the habit loop.
And how to systematically engineer them, right? To build these powerful, self-sustaining systems for yourself.
That's the goal.
And, to really set the stage for the system, I think you have to appreciate where it came from. The author's own story is pretty intense.
It really is.
His life was completely derailed. Final day, sophomore year of high school, gets struck in the face with a baseball bat.
Just awful. Crushed nose, facial fractures, a skull fracture, even led to a coma.
Yeah, and the recovery was just grueling.
He finally returns to baseball a year later and gets cut immediately from the varsity team.
Which must have been devastating for someone so dedicated.
Absolutely. But what's amazing is how he managed that slow rebound. Years later, it wasn't some miracle overnight thing. It was this intense focus on making tiny, deliberate choices every single day.
And look where it led. From this life-threatening injury to eventually being named to the ESPN Academic All-America team.
It really underscores the core idea. It wasn't about immediate grit or some heroic comeback. It was the slow, steady accumulation. Marginal improvements.
That became the engine for everything else. Which brings us neatly to our first major insight. Okay, segment 1. The astonishing power of marginal gains.
Right.
The core philosophy here is the aggregation of marginal gains. It sounds fancy, but it's basically a relentless search, isn't it?
It is. It's looking for that tiny 1% margin of improvement in, well, pretty much everything you attempt.
And the classic case study is British cycling.
Oh, yeah. A perfect example. For nearly a century, they were just mediocre. Definition of it, really.
They'd only won 1 Olympic gold medal since 1908. 1.
Their reputation was apparently so bad that, one major European bike manufacturer reportedly refused to sell them gear.
Wow.
Yeah, they were afraid it would actually damage their brand if British cycling used it.
That really paints a picture of rock bottom. But then they brought in Dave Brailsford.
And here's the key. He didn't just say train harder.
Yeah.
His focus was improving every single variable by just 1%.
And he took that incredibly literally.
Oh, completely. It wasn't just the obvious stuff like bike parts or training plans.
Yeah.
They analyzed the composition of the massage gel.
No way.
Yep. The optimal pillow for each cyclist's sleep. Even things that sound almost ludicrous, like cleaning the team hotel floors meticulously to reduce dust.
Ensuring the texture of the racing seats was just right for comfort. I mean, it's treating floor cleaning as seriously as the bike itself.
It redefines what you even consider part of high performance.
And when you look at the math behind this 1% idea, the effect isn't just additive, it's exponential.
That's the leverage point you absolutely need to internalize. The math of compounding is, well, it's profound. If you get just 1% better each day for a year, you don't just end up 365% better. You end up 37 times better.
37 times.
Yeah. And conversely, getting just 1% worse every day, that takes you nearly down to 0. It just erodes everything.
Which raises such an essential question for you, the listener. Why are you maybe obsessing over your current results? Because the trajectory you're on, that's far more important than the specific outcome you're seeing right now.
Exactly. Outcomes good or bad. They're just a lagging measure of your habits. Think about it. Your net worth today. It's a lagging measure of your past financial habits.
Your current fitness level. A lagging measure of your exercise and eating habits from weeks and months ago.
You get what you repeat consistently. Not what you wish for now and then.
So if the trajectory is sound, the results will eventually catch up. But, and this is a big but, that brings us to the biggest psychological hurdle, doesn't it? In segment 2, you can put in weeks, even months of that 1% effort and see absolutely nothing change in the outcome. 0 visible progress.
That's it. That's the infamous plateau of latent potential. We as humans, we crave linear progress, right?
Yep.
We put in effort, we want to see results immediately.
Naturally.
And when you don't see that, you hit what Clear calls the valley of disappointment.
And that's when people give up. They decide, oh, this change isn't working right before.
Right before the dam is about to break.
It reminds me of that ice cube analogy he uses. It's perfect.
Yeah, explain that one.
Okay, so imagine you're heating a room with an ice cube in it. The temperature goes from, say, 25 degrees Fahrenheit up to 31 degrees.
Okay.
You've put in all this energy, right? 6 degrees worth of heat. But the ice cube, still solid, hasn't melted one bit.
So you feel frustrated, you complain, this heating isn't working.
Exactly. But the work wasn't wasted, was it? All that energy was being stored just beneath the surface.
All the visible action, the melting, the breakthrough, it happens suddenly, dramatically, right at 72 degrees.
The change is almost always delayed.
So to get past that inevitable valley of disappointment, we need a pretty fundamental shift in thinking.
Forget goals, focus on systems, is that it?
That's the core idea. Think about it. If your goal is just to clean your messy room, well, you can achieve that goal.
Sure, for an hour.
Right. But it's only a momentary change. If the underlying messy habits, the system that created the mess remains in place.
The room just gets messy again, inevitably.
You fixed a symptom, but you didn't cure the disease.
And there's another problem with a goals-first approach, isn't there? It kind of messes with your happiness.
It really does. The hidden assumption is always, once I reach my goal, then I'll be happy.
Right. You're constantly postponing satisfaction, shoving it off into the future.
Whereas the systems first mentality, it offers an immediate antidote. If you fall in love with the process, rather than just chasing the product, you can find satisfaction anytime your system is running.
So you're rewarded just for showing up, for doing the reps, not just for hitting the final target.
Exactly. You don't have to wait to be happy.
And if we take this even deeper, connecting it to the highest level of change, we have to talk about identity.
Yes. Identity change. This is the crucial difference between saying, I want to run a marathon, which is an outcome,
versus saying,
I am a runner. That's an identity.
Okay, so how does shifting focus to identity make a habit stick better? What's the mechanism there?
Well, think about it. Outcome goals often rely on external validation, right? Did I win? Did I achieve the number?
Sure.
Identity goals, though, rely on internal proof.
Yeah.
Every single action you take becomes like a vote for the type of person you wish to become.
A vote. I like that.
Yeah. When you choose to, say, eat a vegetable instead of chips, you're casting a vote for, I am a healthy person.
When you read one page before bed, you vote for, I am a reader.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And the more votes you cast, the stronger the evidence becomes, not just to others, but to yourself. Your self-belief solidifies.
So true behavior change isn't just doing things differently.
It's being different.
Yeah.
It only becomes truly sustainable when it becomes part of your identity.
That internal shift feels huge. Okay, moving into segment 3, let's look at the science of the habit loop itself. Why does repeating these tiny actions work so well biologically?
Yeah, it really boils down to resource allocation in the brain. Efficiency, basically.
Efficiency? How so?
Well, your conscious mind, it's powerful, but it's a bottleneck, right? It can really only focus intensely on one complex problem at a time.
Okay.
So habit formation is the brain's brilliant way of reducing that cognitive load. It takes repetitive tasks and sort of outsources them.
To the non-conscious mind.
Exactly. It frees up your precious conscious attention for new challenges, for learning, for creativity.
And this whole outsourcing process runs on a simple but really powerful neurological feedback loop. 4 steps.
That's right. The 4 steps are cue, craving, response, and reward.
Okay, break those down. Cue.
The cue is the trigger. It could be a time of day, a location, a feeling, the preceding action, something that tells your brain which habit to initiate.
Then the craving.
That's the motivational force. It's not the habit itself you crave, but the change in state it delivers, the anticipation of the reward.
Okay, then the response. That's the actual habit.
That's the action itself, yeah, the thought or behavior you perform.
And finally, the reward.
The reward satisfies the craving. It delivers the benefit. And crucially, it teaches your brain, hey, this loop is worth remembering and repeating. This whole cycle is running constantly, scanning, predicting, acting.
You know, the insight about dopamine here always gets me. We usually think of it as the pleasure chemical.
Right, that's the common understanding.
But the research suggests it's more about anticipation, isn't it?
Precisely. Dopamine spikes before the reward is obtained, often even more than during the reward itself. It fuels the wanting, the desire, the motivation to act.
Way more critical for driving behavior than the liking, the actual pleasure itself.
Think about checking your phone for notifications. That little dopamine hit comes from the anticipation of finding something novel or important.
Often more powerfully than whatever you actually find there.
Exactly. The greater the anticipation, the bigger the dopamine spike, and the stronger the urge to perform the habit.
But here's where it gets a bit tricky, or maybe even dangerous. We have to make this conscious. You don't actually need to be aware of the cue for a habit to kick in.
That's a crucial point. Once habits are deeply encoded, the actions become automatic. They fall under the control of the non-conscious mind.
These invisible cues, they can run your life without you realizing it.
They're insidious. You hear stories, right? The retired teacher who still finds themselves correcting someone's grammar without thinking.
Or the former lifeguard who instinctively yells "walk" at a running child years later.
The cues are just baked in. They silently direct your choices. It makes you think of that profound quote from Carl Jung.
Which one is that?
Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate.
Wow. Powerful. That awareness, then, is the absolute critical first step before we can even apply the practical strategies, the 4 laws of behavior change.
Absolutely.
Which brings us nicely to segment 4, the really actionable stuff. How do we engineer these loops? Let's start with the first law. Make it obvious. If the cue is invisible, like you said, you can't act on it. So how do we make cues more visible? Habit stacking seems key.
Habit stacking is brilliant because it leverages the momentum of your existing routines. You're basically hijacking a habit you already have.
And the specific formula is important here, isn't it? It forces clarity.
It does. The formula is, after current habit, I will new habit.
The after current habit part automatically builds in the time and location, the context.
Exactly. So instead of a vague goal like, I want to be more grateful, which is hard to act on.
You make it concrete. Like, after I pour my morning coffee, I will say one thing I'm grateful for before I take the first sip.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You're taking a high probability behavior, that coffee ritual, and using its certainty to anchor a new, perhaps less probable, but desired behavior like gratitude.
And alongside stacking habits, there's environmental design, making the cues physically present.
Yes. If you want to practice guitar more often, don't hide it in the closet.
Put the guitar stand right in the middle of the living room. Make the cue impossible to miss.
Environment is arguably one of the most powerful drivers of behavior, yet often the most overlooked. We have to respect the power of context.
Like the advice for insomniacs. Associate the bed only with sleep.
Right. It leads to that mantra, one space, one use. If your couch is where you relax and where you check stressful work emails.
The easier habit relaxation is probably going to win most of the time.
Almost always.
Yeah.
So design your world. Make the good cues obvious and unavoidable, and the bad cues invisible.
Okay, moving on to the third law. Make it easy. This feels almost primal. Behavior follows the law of least effort.
It's fundamental. We are wired to conserve energy. We naturally gravitate toward the option that requires the least amount of work, physical or mental.
You see it everywhere in successful modern companies, right?
Yeah.
They win by reducing friction.
Absolutely. Think about ordering food online versus driving to the restaurant, parking, ordering, waiting. The online option removes maybe 10 steps of effort.
So when we're building good habits, our goal should be to reduce the friction for that desired behavior down to almost zero.
And a key way to do that, especially when starting out, is the 2-minute rule.
Ah, yes. Combating that common mistake of starting way too big, we get intimidated.
We do. We fail, not because the eventual action is too hard, but because just getting started feels overwhelming. So the rule is, when you start a new habit, it must take less than 2 minutes to do.
The goal isn't the full outcome yet.
No, not at all. The goal is simply to master the art of showing up, to ritualize the beginning of the routine.
So I want to run 3 miles becomes
Change into my running clothes and tie my shoes. That's it. Takes less than 2 minutes.
I want to write 2,000 words becomes
Open my laptop, open the document, and write 1 sentence. Done.
It completely shifts the focus, doesn't it? You're prioritizing mastering the start line, not finishing the race immediately.
Exactly. And often, once you overcome that initial inertia, the law of least effort actually starts working for you. You're already dressed, the document is open, might as well keep going for a bit.
You master the first 2 minutes, and the rest often takes care of itself.
That's the idea.
Okay, finally, let's flip one of the laws. To break bad habits, we use the inversion of the 4th law. Make it unsatisfying.
Right. If rewards drive good habits, then making bad habits immediately painful or unsatisfying helps break them.
And the key word there is immediately. Our brains prioritize immediate consequences over delayed ones.
Hugely. A vague future cost like smoking might cause cancer someday is often too distant to outweigh the immediate hit of nicotine. The punishment, like the reward, needs to be felt now.
So how do you create that immediate cost? The habit contract idea comes to mind.
The habit contract is a great tool for this. We have that famous example of the entrepreneur Brian Harris.
Right, tell us about that.
He created a formal written contract signed by himself, his wife, and his trainer, his accountability partners. The contract stated his goals, track all food consumed, and weigh himself daily if he failed on any given day.
There were immediate consequences.
Oh, yeah. And they were designed to be painful for him. He'd have to dress up in the suit and tie for work every day for the rest of the quarter.
Ouch. And something financial, too.
And give his trainer $200 cash immediately.
That's powerful because it takes an abstract failure like, oh, I slipped up on my diet today, and makes it instantly concrete, socially embarrassing and financially painful.
It taps into our deep-seated need to maintain a good reputation and avoid immediate loss.
And for the listener, maybe you don't need a formal contract like that. It could be simpler, right?
Absolutely. Think about social friction. Tell your friend your goal. Or if you fail to do the dishes after dinner, you immediately pay your partner $5.
Or you have to listen to a song you absolutely despise really loudly.
Whatever works for you. The key is making the consequence immediate, tangible, and definitely undesirable.
Okay, wow. We have covered a massive amount of ground. From that core 1% improvement idea all the way through the 4 laws and practical strategies. But tying it all together, true long-term mastery seems to require this delicate balance, doesn't it?
It really does. You need to understand what Clear calls the Goldilocks rule.
Not too hard, not too easy. Just right.
Exactly. Peak motivation happens when the tasks you're tackling are right on the edge of your current abilities. Not so hard that you get discouraged and quit, but not so easy that you get bored.
You need just enough small wins to stay motivated.
But enough challenge to keep you engaged, learning, and stretching your sense of identity.
But even Goldilocks only addresses the difficulty level. There's another, maybe even bigger villain in the long-term quest for improvement.
Oh, yes.
Simple, grinding boredom.
Absolutely. This is maybe the biggest differentiator. The people who achieve extraordinary success, whether they're athletes, artists, entrepreneurs, whatever, they eventually face the exact same lack of motivation that everyone else does.
They don't always feel passionate or inspired every single day.
Not at all. The difference is what they do when that feeling hits.
The amateur, you could say, lets their mood dictate their actions. I don't feel like it today, so I won't.
Whereas the professional,
Yeah.
they show up anyway. They stick to the schedule, they follow the system, even when the mood isn't right.
Because their commitment is to the process, to the identity, not to the fleeting feeling of passion.
You have to be willing to push through the boredom. You almost have to, as Clear puts it, fall in love with boredom.
Fall in love with boredom. That's quite a challenge. Okay, so as you, our listener, reflect on all this, the power of the 2-minute rule, habit stacking, designing your environment, consider this final provocative thought. What is one single decisive moment in your typical day? That little fork in the road, maybe it's when you first walk through the door after work, or maybe it's the moment your alarm goes off in the morning. Where could applying just a tiny 2-minute ritual set a completely different, much more positive trajectory for the rest of your day or your evening? What's that one leverage point for you?